Conversion rate optimisation is the topic of today's video. To start with the most basic aspect of this all, what is a conversion? Well, a conversion is simply an action that you would like someone to take when they're on your website. Now, this can be filling out a form, it can be buying a product or subscribing to a newsletter, it could even be the increase of the average time they spend on page. It is, in essence, essentially an action that you want someone to take when they're on your website. This normally has commercial intent behind it, and in 99% of cases is going to be buying a product or buying a service, or filling out a form for a lead generation website, that kind of thing. So that's what a conversion is. The rate aspect of conversion rate optimization is literally the ratio between which the people convert at to the rates at which they don't. So to give you a real world example, if you've got a website that receives about 1,000 visitors a month and 10 of those people buy something from your website and that's the action that you wanted them to take, then 1% of your traffic is converted. Now, it's a bit of a misconception. I think traffic directly equals profit from a website, although it's very strongly connected with that. It isn't the primary or driving force behind it. It's actually the rate at which things convert at. I mean, you can deliver thousands and thousands of people to a website with no real call to action on the page, and you won't get a single conversion. And that's not going to equal business. So this is where conversion rate optimization comes in. Using different techniques, skills and best practices, you can increase the rate at which the website traffic converts, and nearly in every case this is going to increase profit significantly. So when should you actually do conversion rate optimization? You know, if you've just got a brand new website and you're getting 30 or 40 visitors a month, this isn't really the time to do it. In a very similar way to AdWords and paid advertising in general, you need quite a bit of data and a regular supply of that data in order to make educated or informed decisions about where you're going to steer the website next. As this graph shows here, this is traffic over time. To give you an example, I mean, this isn't going to be the case for every website, obviously. In the initial phases of a website, you're going to see a relatively sharp increase in traffic. As time goes on, traffic goes higher and higher and higher, it's going to plateau slightly. And this is the time at which conversion rate optimization really comes into its own. You know, because at this point here, you could be receiving maybe, say, 10,000 visitors a month, but if you're only converting 100 of those into conversions, then that's still only a 1% conversion rate. In order to get 200 conversions a month, you'll either have to double your traffic to 20,000 visitors or double the rate at which they convert from 1 to 2%. And at this point, that is a lot more achievable through conversion rate optimization than it is through standard SEO techniques. And this is where conversion rate optimization really comes into its own. As these lines sort of explain here, roughly the time for both of these parts of the graph are roughly equal, yet the rate at which they're increasing is obviously reducing quite considerably. And this is the point you're going to come to, where you've got a website with so much traffic that in order to double it, it's going to take you months and months and months and months and months. Conversion rate optimization is a new way in which you can then tweak that traffic and get the most out of it. So now we've sort of discussed what it is and when you should use it, give you a few sort of tips on the methodologies behind it. Really, there's two schools of thought when it comes to conversion rate optimization. The first is to test first and analyze later, which is a bit gung-ho. The second is to do research first, market research, try and understand your target audience's desires and needs, and really fulfill those in a better and more apt way. Now, I prefer an amalgamation of those two techniques, really. I think firstly, the research aspect can be done very easily, especially if you're a smaller company or you're not a super brand. You can look at what the super brands are doing, and if you're generating leads or you're trying to get people to fill out a contact form on your website, it's very easy to look at competitors, bigger competitors, and see what they're doing. To give you some other real-world examples, you'll quite often find, especially with things like quote forms, that the quote form's offset on the page slightly. It'll be the largest object on the page. The submit button will be a different colour to the rest of the form and the rest of the page in order to make it stand out. And there'll be other aspects on the page as well that will draw your attention to the form or create a call to action. Quite often the content will be hidden underneath the form, well, not hidden completely from view, but hidden from underneath the fold. And the form will be the main focus of the page. Now, don't copy the form exactly, but replicate that on your own website using your own brand colours and your own identity and your own styling. And this is a really good point to start from because you're learning from the mistakes of others already. If you're using a super brand's website to base what you're doing on, you can be rest assured they've spent a lot of money investing time into developing the form, into testing the form, and into making sure that it works properly and that it's well positioned on the page, that the colours are correct, that the fonts are right and so forth. And this can give you a good steer as to where to go next. The other aspects of conversion rate optimization that you would like to consider, split testing is really where it's going to come down to in the end. You're going to be running one page against another page. If you're not familiar with the idea of split testing, the basic principle is that you've got a page A and a page B. You run them against each other to the point where they've both had a relatively even number of visits. Whatever page is converted at the highest rate is kept. The lowest converting page is removed. And a copy of the highest performing page is made and a slight tweak made. And then the pages are run against each other again. The process is repeated over and over. And through doing this, you're going to refine slowly over time the conversion rate so that it comes up and up and up to better levels. And this is really the essence of conversion rate optimization. It is the process of increasing the rate at which a website traffic converts at. And there's lots of different ways that you can do that. As I say, you can research first. Research is always a good idea anyway. You can go straight in with the testing, the split testing, collecting data, competitor analysis. But you can also employ market research groups and consumer groups to do research for you to find out what your customers are looking for on a website. There's different agencies that you can employ to user test your website, where people are given specific goals to reach, and they'll score your website and rate it based on those. And you can then use that data to optimize the customer experience on the website to make things easier to find or simpler to find or less confusing for them. And that's it really. If you'd like to find out more about conversion rate optimization, please visit the Koozai website at www.koozai.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Twitter. Thanks for listening. My name's Alex Sharratt. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.